He closed his laptop slowly, meeting my gaze at last. "A few months," he admitted. "It started as nothing. Just a distraction. Something to feel alive. But it got out of hand. I didn't know how to stop it. And I didn't want to hurt you." The words hit me like a blow. Months. Months of lies. Pretending. And pretending I was the center of his world while he was slipping away from me. I felt my chest tighten, my vision blur with unshed tears. "Do you even realize what you've done?" I whispered, voice breaking. "Do you realize that I can't even look at you the same way again? That trust isn't something you can just fix with words?" He didn't answer. His silence spoke volumes. The man I thought I knew, the one who had promised me love, fidelity, and a future, was gone, replaced by someone capable of deceit so calculated, so cold. It left me questioning everything I had believed. For a long moment, we just sat there, the weight of the betrayal filling the apartment like a heavy fog. I wanted to scream, to demand justice, to punish him in any way I could. But deep down, I realized it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about me, about reclaiming my life from someone who had tried to steal it. And at that moment, I made a decision. Whatever came next, I would no longer be a passive player in this story. I would find a way to confront the truth, to take control, and to ensure that the person who had shattered my trust would never have the power to hurt me again. But first, I had to plan, carefully, strategically, because sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting, it's watching, waiting, and letting the truth speak for itself. The days that followed were tense, almost unbearable. Every glance from him, every casual comment, felt like a dagger twisting in my chest. Yet I stayed calm on the surface, pretending to go about my routine, all the while planning my next move. I wasn't going to let this betrayal go unnoticed. Not just for myself, but for the dignity I refused to surrender. I started by watching more footage. Not just the security cameras outside the building, but every little hint of his pattern, his movements, the late-night messages, the subtle excuses. I took careful notes, recording every lie, every inconsistency. The more I watched, the clearer the picture became, and the more I realized the depth of his deception. Months of trust shattered in small, deliberate pieces, and it had all been hidden behind that mask of normalcy. One evening, as he settled into the couch with his laptop, I finally decided it was time. I had rehearsed the confrontation in my mind countless times. I needed him to see that I knew, that I wasn't blind, that he could no longer hide behind words. "I know everything," I said, my voice steady, calm, but cold. He froze, the laptop slipping slightly in his hands. What do you mean?" "I mean, I know about her. I've seen the cameras. I've seen your lies. I know every late night, every excuse, every fake apology. I know who you've been pretending to be, and it ends now." The silence was heavy, oppressive. I could feel him squirming under the weight of the truth. Finally, he looked up, eyes wide, but not with fear, just the shock of being caught. It's complicated," he stammered. "Complicated?" I repeated, my voice rising slightly, though I fought to keep it controlled. "You think months of deception is complicated? You think that erasing the trust I placed in you is a problem without consequences?" He looked away, unable to answer. That was all the confirmation I needed. He had no defense, no excuses that would make a difference anymore. I took a deep breath, feeling a strange clarity wash over me. The anger was still there, sharp and raw, but it was no longer paralyzing. I realized something essential. I didn't need to beg for apologies. I didn't need to explain my hurt. I didn't need him to validate my pain. He had revealed his true self, and I had a choice. Either let him continue to control my emotions, or reclaim my life. "You know what's worse than the lies?" I asked quietly, leaning closer. "It's the assumption that I wouldn't find out, that I would keep living in this bubble while you played with my heart. But I saw it, and now you have no power over me anymore." For the first time, he looked genuinely afraid. The charm, the casual arrogance, the comfortable manipulation, it was gone. I saw the man I loved replaced by someone I didn't recognize, and I realized how little he deserved of my time, my energy, or my trust. That night, I made my decision. I wouldn't just walk away. I would leave him with the reality of his actions, the full weight of the truth, and a sense of loss he couldn't undo. And as I lay awake, planning how I would reclaim my life, I finally felt something I hadn't felt in months: control. For the first time since discovering the betrayal, I felt free. The next morning, I woke with a sense of resolve I hadn't felt in months. The betrayal had left its mark, but it no longer had the power to define me. Today would be the day I took control, the day I faced him not as a victim, but as someone who knew exactly what was at stake. I waited until he came home from work, his casual demeanor now grating in a way it hadn't before. The familiar sight of him walking through the door, carrying that same confident air, made me steady my breathing. I wasn't going to crumble. I wasn't going to beg. "I hope you're ready to talk," I said, my voice calm but unyielding. He froze, immediately sensing the shift in tone. "Talk?" he asked cautiously. "Yes, about the truth," I replied, stepping closer. "About every lie, every late night, every time you thought I wouldn't notice." He opened his mouth, but I held up a hand. "Don't, just don't. I don't need excuses. I don't need apologies that mean nothing. What I need is honesty, and what you've been giving me isn't that." For a long moment, he said nothing. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the wall clock. Then he finally spoke, voice small, almost pleading. I didn't want to hurt you." I shook my head slowly, anger and disappointment coiling like a snake in my chest. Not wanting to hurt me doesn't erase what you did. Months of lies, hiding her, pretending you were somewhere else. That's intentional. That's deliberate. He looked down, shame flickering across his features. But this time I didn't soften. This time I didn't cry. Instead, I felt a cold clarity. I realized I deserved more than excuses, more than false promises, more than the fragments of a man who had betrayed me so completely. "I trusted you," I said, voice steady, cutting through the tension. "I gave you everything, and you threw it away for what? A fleeting moment? A distraction? Whatever it wasn't worth the love I gave you." He looked up, eyes wide, realizing finally that he had lost not just my trust, but my respect. "Please, I can fix this," he whispered. I shook my head. "No, some things can't be fixed. You've shown me who you really are, and it isn't someone I can be with. I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unfeel what I feel. You've lost more than you think." Then I walked past him, past the life we had built together, and out the door. Each step felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Each breath a reminder that I was no longer trapped by lies. The city outside was alive, indifferent, but it didn't matter. For the first time in months, I felt in control, free from the weight of deception. He called after me, but I didn't look back. I didn't answer. The truth had been revealed, the betrayal exposed, and my life stretched ahead of me, unbroken by someone who had tried to take it. And as I disappeared into the night, I realized that the most powerful revenge wasn't confrontation. It was moving forward, unshaken, unbroken, and finally free. The cameras had shown me the truth, and in facing it, I had discovered my own strength. My fiancé said he was working late, so I checked the security cameras and froze. It was just past 10 p.m. when my fiancé texted me, saying he'd be working late again. At first, I didn't think much of it. He often had long nights at the office, and I tried not to worry. But tonight felt different. There was a certain tension in his tone, a lack of warmth that made me uneasy. I stared at the screen, rereading his message. "Working late. Don't wait up." I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was overthinking. I had spent the evening tidying up the apartment and making a simple dinner, imagining he would walk in with that smile I loved, apologizing for the late night. But as the clock ticked closer to 11, and then 11:30, the unease grew. My hands shook slightly as I reached for my laptop. Maybe it was silly, but a small voice in my head urged me to check the security cameras, just to make sure everything was okay. I logged into the system, the grainy footage flickering to life on the screen. The lobby of our building appeared first, empty and quiet, just as it should be. Then I navigated to the parking garage. My stomach tightened when I saw the timestamp, 10:45 p.m. And there he was, walking past the cameras, but not alone. I froze. He was smiling, laughing even, holding hands with someone. My chest tightened, my heart pounding against my ribs. My mind refused to believe what I was seeing. It couldn't be real. My fiancé, the person I trusted most, the one who had promised me forever, holding hands with another woman in the late hours, smiling like it meant nothing. For a few moments, I just sat there, staring at the screen, hoping my eyes were deceiving me. But every movement, every gesture was painfully clear. He was leaning close, whispering something, and she laughed. My fists clenched at my sides, knuckles white. I wanted to scream, to run down those stairs and confront him immediately, but fear and disbelief held me frozen. I went back a few minutes to see if I had misread the timestamp. No, it was him. It had to be. I felt an icy realization creep over me. The countless late nights, the sudden work trips, the vague explanations. They weren't coincidences. I had ignored the red flags for months, trusting him blindly. And now the truth was undeniable. Tears blurred my vision as I continued watching. Something in me broke as I realized I had been living a lie, dancing around a reality I didn't want to face. And the worst part? I had no idea how long this had been going on. Hours, days, maybe weeks. I didn't know if I could look at him the same way again, or if I could ever forgive the betrayal that had been hidden behind the working late texts. But I couldn't stop watching. The rest of the night passed in a blur. I barely slept, haunted by the images I had seen on the security cameras. Every sound made me jump. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, even the distant sirens outside. My mind kept replaying that moment over and over. His laughter, the way they leaned close to each other, the casual intimacy I thought was only reserved for us. By morning, I felt a mixture of anger, betrayal, and confusion. I tried to imagine reasons, excuses, any possible scenario that would make sense. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like, but the truth was glaringly obvious. The texts, the sudden work late nights, the hushed phone calls, all the tiny things I had dismissed as stress or coincidence were pieces of a puzzle that finally formed a painful picture. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my untouched coffee, wondering what I should do. Should I confront him right away, or should I gather more proof, just to be sure I wasn't overreacting? The thought of him walking through that door with that smile, oblivious to my awareness, made my stomach churn. Hours later, the sound of the front door made me freeze. My heart slammed against my chest. Could it be him, coming home like nothing happened? I didn't have the courage to look, to see if the confident smile he always wore masked the guilt I suspected. When he finally appeared, wearing the same jacket and carrying his laptop bag, he didn't notice my silent glare. "Morning," he said, casual. I know I said late last night, but work wrapped up sooner than expected. I couldn't speak. My voice refused to cooperate. I wanted to ask, to yell, to demand an explanation, but the words lodged in my throat. My hands shook as I gripped the edge of the table. He dropped the bag and walked toward the kitchen. "You're quiet this morning. Everything okay?" The sight of him, so normal and unaware, enraged me. I wanted him to feel the same cold panic I had felt, the crushing weight of seeing him lie, of knowing the truth. Instead, he smiled, thinking nothing was wrong, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. Finally, the words came out, shaky but sharp. "I saw you, last night, on the cameras." His expression shifted. First surprise, then a flicker of panic. I can explain," he stammered. "Explain," I echoed, my voice rising. "You were holding hands with someone else, laughing, like you didn't even think about me. How is that explainable?" He looked away, rubbing the back of his neck. It's complicated. You wouldn't understand." "Try me," I said, voice trembling but firm. "Because right now it feels like you've been living a lie. Like every word you said to me meant nothing." He sighed, finally meeting my gaze, and for the first time, I saw the cracks in his calm facade. But instead of remorse, there was a cold calculation, a defensiveness that made my stomach sink. The realization hit me hard. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a momentary lapse. This was deliberate. And the worst part? I didn't know if I could ever trust him again. The rest of the morning passed in a tense silence. He avoided my gaze, shuffling around the apartment as if pretending nothing had happened could erase the truth. I, on the other hand, couldn't stop thinking about every detail I had seen on the cameras. The laughter, the casual touches, the ease with which he interacted with her. Each memory burned into my mind, leaving a bitter taste of betrayal. I decided I needed answers. I couldn't confront him with accusations alone. I needed facts, proof, something undeniable. My hands shook as I pulled up the security footage again, rewinding, pausing, replaying every interaction. My chest ached with anger and grief. I had loved him, trusted him, and now I felt like an outsider in my own life. He finally sat down across from me, laptop in hand, pretending to type, pretending everything was normal. "Look, I didn't want you to see that," he said quietly, as though confessing the truth made it somehow better. "Then why?" I demanded. "Why lie to me? Why hold someone else's hand behind my back? I thought we were building a life together." He swallowed, avoiding my eyes. "It's not what you think. I didn't mean for it to get complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated, incredulous. "Do you hear yourself? Do you have any idea what you've done to me? To us? I trusted you, I gave you everything, and you threw it away." He flinched, but didn't apologize. That lack of remorse, that casual admission of wrongdoing, cut deeper than the betrayal itself. I stood abruptly, pacing the room, trying to make sense of the chaos in my mind. "I need to know the truth," I said firmly. "How long has this been going on? How many nights, how many lies?